Grail acquired. I know, in this silly, unnecessary hobby of watch collecting, the word Grail comes up quite often, but this seriously is mine and has been since this watch, the Omega Grey Side of the Moon, released 10 years ago. 10 years ago, my wife wasn't even my wife. We had recently started dating, and one of the first big dates I ever took her on was to go see a show at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood. We had some time to kill between the show and dinner reservations, so we went over to the Beverly Center, and upon walking around and feeling fancy as we were doing, we came across an Omega boutique. And I knew about the Grey Side of the Moon, but even then, even when I was courting my soon-to-be wife, I had to drag her into that boutique so I could get that thing on wrist. I was in love from the first time I ever saw it. My wife loved it on my wrist from the first time she ever saw it there. And not too long ago, I was able to add this to the collection, and it still feels a bit surreal. So what do you say we take a look at this thing and talk about why this just might be one of the best modern watches, if not the best modern watch that's been created, even though it's already a decade old. All right, you know what the watch is, but we're going to unbox it because if you haven't had the pleasure of having an Omega, then you don't know that they, let's just say when it comes to unboxing, they understand the assignment. You get this gorgeous, not small, this is a sizable piano black box. Admittedly, yes, it's a fingerprint magnet, but that's okay. You can even see my reflection in it. Hi guys. Piano black, absolutely fantastic. Just a beautiful unboxing experience all around. You get this nice little push button to open the lid. And when we do that, we see our beauty front and center. This is the Omega Speedmaster Grey Side of the Moon. This one was purchased pre-owned. Now, this is the version with the deployant clasp, the buckle on the strap, and we're going to get into that. But this watch is currently listed at a retail price of $13,600 US. This was purchased pre-owned, and I'm going to tell you why you should probably do that if you're looking at picking up one of these, because this one, pre-owned, full set, box, papers, everything. This is 5 years old, so this is a 2019 manufacture date, but this was $7,950. So you're saving well over $5,000, just over $5,500 US if you purchase something like this online, based on the current market in late 2024. This watch is Goldilocks for me in so many different ways. So I want to go through why exactly this is my Grail and talk about some of the features and why this might be one of the, if not the best modern watches made. First things first, case material. This looks a little darker than steel because it's not steel. Might resemble titanium to a lot of you who know what titanium looks like, but it's also not titanium. This is a full ceramic case. But Omega doesn't just stop at those glossy, high-polished ceramic cases like you see from Audemars Piguet and Hublot and things like that. No, they actually finish their ceramic cases just like their steel. So when we come here, like this is a full ceramic bezel with a beautiful radial brushing around it. The sides, gorgeous brushing to break up the mid case with the high polished bevels and lyre lugs or twisted lugs as we head down into the strap area. Pushers, also ceramic, because why stop at just the case, right? Ceramic pushers and crown, everything's fantastic. But ceramic isn't all this is made of. No, those hands and indices, those are beautifully smoked white gold for a little bit of contrast. And those hands and indices sit atop a dial that if you look in just the right light, I'm not sure if we're going to catch it here, but just above the pinion, it says PT950. And the reason it says PT950 is because that dial is a solid disc of platinum with this beautiful kind of light grained sandpaperish finish. The reason Omega did that is because it evokes the look of moon dust. And I've never seen moon dust, but I'll trust them. They probably know what they're talking about more than I do. But I can say that when you get it into the sun, it has a very faint metallic effect that gives the watch even more character. For an all gray watch, right, living up to its name, Gray Side of the Moon, this thing has character in spades. And they did a really good job with the design all the way down to the strap. Like, this is a beautiful gray alligator strap with contrasting stitching. It seems to be white on camera, but it's kind of more of a very light gray than a white. And then when you look at the underside of the strap, you got your black calfskin in there with red contrast stitching on the underside, which is just genius because you got the red Speedmaster there just underneath the Omega logo. Like, every little detail was thought about. It's very rare that I get a nice watch like this and I don't go through the hassle process. For me, it's joy of designing and ordering some sort of a custom strap from someone to match it. But this one, it's just not necessary. On the underside of this strap, we have a beautiful deployant signed Omega buckle. And this isn't just your standard deployant buckle, because this is titanium to keep the weight down. So they made this buckle out of titanium, but it's not all titanium, because this part here, this little bit, the part that goes desk diving, yeah, that's ceramic too, because ceramic is all but scratch proof. It's highly, 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 highly scratch resistant. And when you look at the case, you can tell, because this is a 5-year-old watch. This was bought pre-owned, and it looks basically brand new. There were 0 scratches or signs of wear anywhere on this watch when I received it. And as a matter of fact, I want to shout out Luxury Bazaar. This was bought through Chrono24 via Luxury Bazaar, or Luxury Bazaar via Chrono24, however you want to order those things. But when I first opened the box, that stench of high quality leather just hit me in the nose in the most wonderful way. And this watch looked like it was adorning a unused strap. So I have a feeling that they took this in on trade or purchased it pre-owned from somebody, and before reselling it, they actually replaced the old strap with the pin buckle with a brand new factory Omega strap and deployant buckle. So thank you guys for doing that. Absolutely fantastic. But what's hiding under that buckle? Under that buckle, we have Omega coaxial caliber 9300. And to say that these are some of my favorite machine finished movements would be an understatement. I don't know if there's a whole lot of companies getting close with machine finishing right now. I'm not going to undo the strap to give you a super up close look at this because, I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you can kind of see what's going on there. This is a brass movement that is rhodium plated, blackened, black polished steel screws, absolutely gorgeous. And we're working with a silicone balance spring here. And this is the 9300 with the George Daniels coaxial escapement. If we move on the other side, I don't know about you guys, but there's something about the style that they went with in this movement with the kind of schematic theme for the finishing. I absolutely love that. I like blueprints and schematic prints and exploded views of things and stuff like that. And that's what I'm getting from this. It's just gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. So let's get into to some of the tech specs here because it's pretty darn impressive. 44.25 millimeter case diameter, which you would think makes it wear humongous, but case diameter is only one measurement. It's only one part of the equation, my friends. Lug to lug is a very reasonable 49.8 millimeters, and fitted with the strap that comes straight down at the lugs. You can wear this on a smaller wrist than you would think. This doesn't fit like one of those monsters that we're used to seeing from so many of the brands these days. It is 16.1 millimeters thick, but again, it just doesn't wear that thick. I feel like case design really plays into that because you have the case back protruding quite a bit from the case here. And that also kind of sinks into your wrist a little bit and makes it wear a little slimmer than you would think for a 16 millimeter thickness watch. And then we are 21 millimeters between the lugs. That would be a pain in the butt if you like to change straps a lot, but I think the 21 millimeter width is really nice on this. Personally, I would have preferred 22, I think, but the 21 gets me there. I think with a 20 millimeter lug width, we'd probably be looking a little thin and disproportionate. So the 21 gets you there in a really nice way, and you're not dealing with an unwieldy or thick strap at that point. When it comes to the materials that this watch is made of, we've kind of gone over them a little bit, but we're looking at rhodium plated brass, high polished steel, gorgeously finished ceramic, a platinum dial, white gold hands and markers, a titanium clasping mechanism in the buckle, alligator, calf skin. You tell me if there's more of a masterclass on blending different metals and materials to make one gorgeous cohesive package than this watch. I want to know. Let me know in the comments. What watch uses more materials in a better way than this? Because I would contend that there isn't one. And the Lume, that's pretty good too. I don't normally do Lume shots, but we are today. And we're not just kicking off the lights here, we got a real world example. So let's walk in from the full sun into a dimly lit room, shut the door behind us, and oh my goodness. Great Lume on the hands. The beautifully loomed Omega logo on the crown, such a nice touch. And yes, the tachymeter is lit up like a Christmas tree. The markers, the hands, the tachymeter, the crown, everything is loomed on this thing. It's a gorgeous application. It looks beautiful. And in real world use, it lasts a pretty decent amount of time. You're not going to be disappointed with this. Okay, let's talk about this movement and the features it offers. We are a COSC certified chronometer. By the way, when I stuck this on a time grapher, it was running at plus 0.3 seconds per day. So we are just fine from an accuracy perspective. Thank you very much. We have a date window at 6 o'clock. Thank you for not mucking up my symmetry there. Appreciate that, Omega. And then we have two dials. We have a dial at the 9 o'clock, which is our running seconds, and a dial at the 3 o'clock, which is our chronograph hours and minutes. You got two hands over there. And this keeps chronograph time up to 12 hours. And a lot of people say, why would I need to time something for 12 hours? Well, you probably don't need to time things for 12 hours, but this allows this movement to functionally offer you a dual time zone feature. So if you see right now, it's currently, 10:47, coming up on 10:48 in the time zone that I'm in. I'm on Pacific Standard Time right now. I have a few clients in Texas for work. So I like to know at a glance, without adding to the time. You get the point, right? This is just an example. But I wanted to know what time it is in Texas at all times. And they're 2 hours ahead of me. So I started this chronograph at 10 o'clock my time, which was 12 o'clock their time. Well, this is chronograph hours and minutes, right? So when you reset it, it resets back to 12, which means when you start it, it's starting at what looks like 12 on the little mini clock on the dial. So now that chronograph can stay running in perpetuity as long as you're wound and you got some power in there, right? And it's going to keep track of my central standard time on the 3 o'clock subdial. So this bicompax chronograph is not just a chronograph, because when you're not using it as a chronograph, you can functionally use it as a dual time feature. I don't know about you, but I think that's just extremely cool. So I use this for a dual time zone often because most of the time I like to keep my chronographs running if I'm not timing something, because I really like seeing the big seconds hand sweep around. And here's the other cool thing about this watch. That dual time zone you can just start it at noon your time before you travel somewhere. Because as you're traveling, you can pop out the crown to first position. You can see the chronograph continues to run. Our subregister continues to keep our second time zone. And then in that first position, you can just jump the hour to wherever you traveled to. And that's also how you jump the date as well. Right? So this is way more useful than a lot of people think. And I think that added kind of hidden complication makes this movement so much more interesting than any dual time or chronograph or chrono GMT, because that second time zone is kind of there when you want it and it's not when you don't. Just super useful. I love this thing. Let's get it on wrist and talk about how it fits. So I have an 8-inch wrist, and every time I put it on, I laugh a little bit because this still doesn't feel real. But what a gorgeous wrist roll. It fits me absolutely wonderfully. 8 inches, you can see we have kind of double security under here for the buckle, but I still have one hole left. So this would probably fit out of the box if you have up to maybe 8.25, possibly even 8.5-inch wrist. I like my watches a little bit on the loose side, so if you don't, you can probably go 8.5-inch wrist. But you can see like there is no threat of overhang from the lugs. There is absolutely nothing going on here other than an incredibly well-proportioned watch on my wrist. Yeah, I know. I'm still in honeymoon phase with my Grail here. And you can see, hang it down to the side a little bit. And it doesn't wear that thick. You can kind of see how the case back is kind of disappearing into my wrist. I don't wear many dress shirts anymore. So the only cuffs that I'm slipping this under is hoodies and sweaters. And that's plenty good enough for me. But if I did have a dress shirt, I don't know, maybe the bezel there might catch the cuff every now and again, but probably not, to be honest. This is easier to fit under a cuff than you think. But talk about a watch that can be dressed up and dressed down and dressed in and dressed out and absolutely everything under the sun. I think this is an absolute masterclass in modern watchmaking by one of the masters of watchmaking in general in Omega. I am so proud to own this and have it be part of the collection. I don't know what my next watch is going to be because I'm so darn satisfied with this one. It's hard to picture myself going shopping for anything else because it's going to kick this off of my wrist. And that just kind of makes me sad. Let's do some final thoughts, shall we? Okay, I've waxed poetic enough. Or maybe not. I mean, let's be honest. This is one of, if not the best modern watches out there, especially when you take into account the value proposition from a pre-owned perspective. The fact that you can pick this up for over $5,000 under retail is mind-blowing to me. If this was made by a few other brands that are out there and they started bringing exotic things like ceramic cases, haute horology style coaxial escapements that prolong your service life, platinum, gold, silicone escapements to reduce or eliminate the effects of magnetism in any way. The highly engineered details that go into the buckle and the movement finishing, even though it's mechanical movement finishing, not hand finishing, this is kind of on the upper tier of what machines are doing these days. And they started doing this 10 years ago. If this was a Patek Philippe or a Rolex, maybe even a Vacheron, definitely an Audemars Piguet, if this was from any of those brands, there would be endless waiting lists to get your hands on it. But instead, because it's an Omega and they don't do limited runs of this watch, it's just an open edition. There's plenty out there, and you can go pick them up on the secondary market for, I don't want to say next to nothing. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's more money than anybody ever needs to spend on a watch. We are crazy people, us watch people. But if you're one of those watch people, you probably appreciate this piece as much as I do. It's special. And this particular one is mine. And someday it'll probably be my son's. This is an heirloom piece. It is a special piece. The relationship that I've built with it since I've had it is humongous, but the relationship started back when I was first dating my wife. I was building stories around this model. Now I get to build stories around this specific sample of this model. Grail achieved. Like, subscribe. Tell me what you think about this watch. Why is or isn't it one of the best examples of modern watchmaking that's currently available? Let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time, probably with a much more reasonably priced watch to look at.